right. Well, thank you all so much for joining today's VetNet, Navigating Transitions, Key Insights and Resources for Service Members. I'm Linda Nellis, Alumni Services and Engagement Coordinator for the Daniello Institute for Veterans and Military Families. You're going to hear from IVMF's Research Associate, Jeanette Harvie. Jeanette will provide a comprehensive overview of valuable resources focused on veterans transitions. Jeanette will be followed by IVMF's Community Service Program Manager, Melius. Aaron will follow up with community service insights, highlighting resources and how to access them. There will be time at the end for questions and answers, and that'll be facilitated by IVMF's Alumni Service and Engagement Manager, Cassandra Rosica. So I will, at this time, hand it over to Jeanette, if you're all set, Jeanette.
Hello, I'm here. Here's my video. Sorry, having a little tech trouble today. All right, so let me share my slides this morning, or this afternoon rather. Okay. See this? Can we see my screen? Let's see. All right. Are we all good?
You see it. Yep.
Okay, well, thank you so much. Good morning, good afternoon, depending where you are. I hope everyone is staying warm and cozy with this ongoing weather related challenges across the US. But thank you so much, Linda, for the introduction. I'm Jeanette Harvie. I'm a research associate here at the IVMF. My work mainly covers our military research portfolio. And with that, I focus a lot also on transition-related research. So I'm very excited today to share with you and with our network, some of the research that's been recently published through our collaboration with the Blue Star families on their military family lifestyle survey. Which we call the MFLS. So the objective today for me is to bring an opportunity to talk about military transition and visit some of the research and data insights we have on that. I hope you'll become curious and visit our research reports, which I will share during the presentation. So let's jump into it. So what is military to civilian transition? If you're inclined, I invite you to type in the chat what you think military transition encompasses. This might be a deceptively simple question for many, but my guess is that if you talk to different people or just look into the chat like right now, you're likely to find many different answers on what this process would actually entail. But in research, we've been trying to think about this concept more holistically. I would point out that this is a what we call a working definition, meaning that this is not only defined, this is not the only definition, nor is it set in stone. We are always learning new things at the IVMF, and we do update our understanding accordingly. However, for now, we think about military transition as a comprehensive and ongoing journey for military personnel, for veterans and their families. So it is not just about service members themselves. Another aspect of this concept has to do with timing. We know that, for example, skill bridge programs have specific timelines that may be related to rank and branch, but in reality, the process of military transition may go beyond 180 days on either end of the process, especially when we're talking and taking into account of, for example, moving, job searches, family needs, etc. Which leads me to my third point here is that military transition is about a lot of things. It's about social and community change. There are implications for economic and financial planning. Also, personal and family well-being should be also considered. All that is to say, in research and recommendations, we do tend to look at transition broadly and holistically. We also recognize that not all service members have the same transition needs, and that maybe there needs to be some tailored process on how this happens for folks. Let's see. Okay. So there are many aspects of transition I can talk about today, but I'm going to focus on the resources as it's advertised in the webinar, and what data we have that would help us understand the resource utilization. And here is the reason why. So we call it a conundrum, but basically what this means is when we go out and talk to practitioners and service providers in the community and stakeholders about some of the unmet needs among military transition population, what often comes up is this resource piece. We often use the phrase drinking from a fire hose as a way to describe circumstances where a deluge of information comes at you. And this may be true for those in the thick of trying to transition from the military to the civilian world. And it's not just about the volume of information available, but it's also about the intensity of the pressure, right? I think this is what makes this process all the more challenging. We do have some data from veteran respondents where they told us that their recent unmet resource needs are what they are. So essentially what we're seeing in the top area of need include benefits and claim assistance, behavioral and mental health, employment and career development needs, and community service and support, such as finding social support, volunteering opportunities, etc. I think looking at this employment and career development category is very illustrative of the point I'm about to make. So as a researcher, this really piqued my interest because there appears to be so many resources related to career development. We offer some of those ourselves too. And but even among all this, resource available, there's still, folks who said that they need this, and this is part of their unmet needs. So there are still folks who cannot have this need fulfilled. Now, this is by no means the only reason about why we have unmet needs in our community. However, our research from our friends at Penn State with the TVMI study, it shows that those who don't feel fully transitions from the military also said that they did know about certain resources and they were confused about some of their eligibility for these benefits. So there's a lot going on here. Okay, so one way to kind of tackle this is to think about how people find information during military transition. I know it's like a little bit small, and if you're like staring into a screen, it's even smaller, but I have a QR code for you here where you can scan, and this will take you to our landing page at IVMF for this finding. So, we try to tackle this this conundrum, so to speak, through our recently published research in the 2024 Military Family Lifestyle Survey report. And we basically, if you look at this, and I kind of pulled out the most important part that I am interested in for you. So we basically ask what would be helpful for veterans and what kind of resource they would engage in and whether they would find it helpful. So here are the top resources that veterans said they could find, they found helpful. And I want to know for everyone today here, that is this discussion with peer category. 42% of the veteran respondents said they basically they engage with their peers when they're transitioning from the military, and they found that they used this resource and they found it helpful. And in the previous slide, I guess we can look at this. We also had, web searches and, Facebook and all these, affinity groups that we look at. But, the top category for us is, for example, folks look at the VA for resources and folks look at discussions with peers. And I think here are some of the quotes. We have some qualitative information from the report, which you will see if you scan the QR code, you go to the report itself. But in terms of transition resources and what did you use, how did you find them, folks, like some of them, they come with a wealth of resources, apparently, probably before even they joined the military. One veteran, they told us that they're third generation Navy. They know a lot about Navy. Their brothers, their sisters, their family have gone through this process and they've seen it themselves. Maybe they're military, part of the military family. They were military kids, so they've seen this process and they know what it looks like. They know how to seek the information they need. Another veteran told us that, they have a lot of knowledge because they have a large network of friends. And I think this is kind of important here because you're here today at this VetNet event, you're somehow affiliated with us, either through participating with our programs or you're one of our community partners. And this is where folks can come and seek information. So I think this is a very important aspect of this. And here I have, this may be a little bit small because of the way the slide is laid out, but essentially we have an assessment of military to civilian transition. We found that, even though folks have a lot of resources, some people spend a lot of time preparing for this, it is a hard process. I think our previous research, I don't have that here on the slides, but our previous research find that consistently half of our respondents in the survey would tell us that they find the process of military transition to be difficult, difficult or very difficult. It is hard for people who are prepared, but it can be harder if you are unprepared. And a part of this preparedness aspect is, finding resources, being able to get the resource you need, know who to talk to get these types of resources. So I think there is a lot of understanding from that aspect in terms of research. And I think the other part is like, how do we layer in terms of like policy recommendations, is how do we layer in programs and services to help facilitate this transition process. So that is all I have for today in terms of the research. I know Aaron will be on next and he'll be able to talk about some very specific things for us. But if you have any questions, let's connect. And you can also put your question in the chat that Linda will look at, and maybe we can answer towards the end of the webinar. But I also have a QR code. I'm trying to use these because I find them to be useful as I go around and look for information and attend webinars and stuff and conferences. So that would get you to my email address. Send me a message if you're curious more about our research. And I thank you for your time.
Thank you so much, Jeanette. That was really informative, so helpful. So I will pass it over to Aaron at this time, and I will share my screen, Aaron.
All right. Thank you very much, Linda. I appreciate it. Like I said, my name is Aaron. I'm the program manager, the Community of Practice here through the Community Services Program. But before that, I led the Veteran Service Navigation efforts in Western Pennsylvania in the Pittsburgh region for veterans. So that program was called PA Serves. It was originally the third of the America Serves programs that had started with the IVMF that helps veterans connect to resources. We found out through all of the research is that one of the biggest issues with transition obviously is transitioning and finding those resources. So the initiative under America Serves was to eventually, there was 18 different serves throughout the United States, and their job was to help mentor and mentor veterans into finding benefits and resources. Essentially, they were the experts in their community. We kept up to date with all resources and eligibility, and we were looking for a no wrong way to enter into services. So that's sort of my background. I also did, I led intake and assessment at an organization in Pittsburgh too as well. So during my time in this work, I spent most of the time connecting veterans to resources in the community. So today we're just going to go over quickly about what community services does. We'll go over through some benefits and resources that that veterans that I've worked with found helpful, and then I will show you guys how to connect sort of with our community services program if you are looking for any specific resources. Yes, the first one is the community practice. That is essentially the program that I lead. There's 20 different organizations from 15 states that are doing care coordination and veteran service navigation. And we come together monthly online and once a year in person to sort of talk about best practices in innovation and how we can work to connect veterans to services and how can we meet veterans that have yet to be connected to services. So that's what we do with the community of practice. That is an extension of what our work was here with America Serves in terms of helping veterans coordinate care. We also do technical assistance. We then in turn provide technical assistance for those networks and then new networks that are looking to start care coordination. We have a lot of experience going on 10 years now in coordinated care. And now we're in a place where we're helping new communities who want to set up a care coordination model to do that. And then also give some technical advice on ones that are already that are already doing the work on things that they can need that we can provide regarding data, research and evaluation, measurement, those kind of things as well. Also here in the community services, we actually have a coordination center called Syracuse Serves. I believe it's in around its third year or so. So if there are any veterans locally, Syracuse Serves is that hub and spoke model to get veterans to resources here in the Syracuse area. All right, like I said before, I have a lot of experience in connecting veterans to resources, and I know this might seem simple, but I've seen it every day. The biggest issue with connecting veterans to the resources and needs is their lack of documentation at times. It is sometimes can be up to 30 days to get that documentation, and it's been one of the leading causes of veterans not getting timely services. So I only bring this up as a way to tell you, store your DD-214 online. If you're a post 9/11, you have access to e-benefits portal. Store your DD-214. It should be already stored there. Store hard copies in a fireproof safe at home. Store one with your local county courthouse. Give a copy to your spouse, children, family members for sure. And then if you do need access to a DD-214 that you lost, the National Personal Record Center will be part of that. Here's where I'll sort of mention that everything that we talk about today will be part of a PowerPoint presentation that we send to you at the end of this that will have links to all of these different programs or benefits that we talk about. But I can't stress enough, keep secure your documentation. Make sure your friends and your spouse and your children or family member have a copy of it. You'll never know when you need it. You'll never know when an emergency happens. And for people that are doing the work, supporting veterans on the ground, essentially nothing really starts without that documentation. So I can't stress enough, please secure it. I know myself, I've always been pretty secure of having it knowledgeable where it's at, but I'm telling you, we get calls all the time, and that's the first thing that brings a hindrance to providing resources is storing that DD-214 for you. All right, and now we're just going to talk about some benefits regarding transition that are actually benefits for all veterans. There's no wrong time to access any of these things, but sort of from some of the work that we did, this was sort of like the plan that we would come up with and to ensure veterans that come into our care coordination system sort of come up with this plan that we worked on together to ensure that they're getting connected to the right resources, that they're knowledgeable of what's out there. And the first things first is VA healthcare. 45% of those respondents said that they look to the VA for resources. The VA has tons of different resources for veterans, and they usually connected pretty well with the community at large to do things that they can't do. I did embed, there's a lot of different ways to connect to the VA. You can go in person, but I did add a link to the 1010 form EZ that can allow you to apply online for VA healthcare. Essentially, next step for me and for those veterans is carve out time to meet with an accredited veteran service officer. They're the ones that can help you navigate your federal benefits. They can help you manage your claims. My advice would don't go about your claim work on your own. Meet with an accredited veteran service officer. And some of the ones that I mentioned here, veterans, the VFW, the American Legion, Disabled American Veterans, and the Wounded Warrior Project. Like I said, go to them and be engaging in your transition. Go meet with people that know the resources, and I can't stress enough to be able to go do that. The next step would be then find out if your county or parish has a veteran service officer. I think right now 25% of all counties in the United States have a veteran service officer, but every state and county has different benefits. So to go ahead and meet with one of them will help you navigate your state and county benefits as well as a veteran. So like I said, there's different ways to go about that, and they can also help you file for your federal benefits as well. And like I said, lastly, but probably most important, so you can go back to the last one, is find out if there's a coordinated care network in your local community. These people on the ground are the people that are knowledgeable of the space. They can connect you not only to federal programs, state, local, county programs, but they can also connect you to community-based organizations. They're knowledgeable of all of the different, essentially the landscape of your community in terms of veteran services. They're the ones that can stay up to date, and most of them use a technology platform that can help connect you directly to veteran programming. And then here's some just important federal benefits to know about. Service-connected disability and compensation. I'm sure that's not a secret to anybody. Start that process as soon as possible. As soon as you can, the longer you wait, the harder it is. Work with a accredited veteran service officer to help you apply for that benefit. It's, you know what I mean? It's something that you should do directly out of service, but it's hopefully never too late if you need it. But I stress enough, don't do it on your own. I don't know, veteran readiness and employment, essentially Chapter 31. If you have a service-connected disability that limits your ability to work or prevents you from working, this program can help you explore employment options and address training or education in your space. So essentially, layman's term, if you now have employment that you can no longer do due to your service-connected disability, VRNE Chapter 31 can help you essentially retrain into your next role. It's something that you can be used in conjunction or use after you use your GI Bill and whatnot as well. So just want to make sure that everyone's aware of that program. The Veteran Home Loan Guarantee, I put that in there. There will be a link to the online form to apply for that for your certificate of eligibility. Also, another way to be able to go out through that to get that benefit is to go directly through your lending institution as well. And then I also put in burial benefits, pre-eligibility need. If you are looking to be buried in a VA National Cemetery, you can pre-apply at any time. It can help the burial planning process easier for your family. Getting ahead of some of these things is key to the federal benefits that are out there that you should probably know about. All right, like I said, we saw in the other slides that employment and entrepreneurship are difficult part of the veteran transition. I only put these here. These are some of these national programs that are available to help you sort of transition from military to civilian employment. They do resume help. They'll help with job leads, and they'll help you gap fill your resume, which is very important in terms of ensuring that you have the training that all your civilian counterparts have when you are in that job market. And then, like I said, locally, chances are there are local employment providers in your community that have boots on the ground that are working with jobs that you're applying for. So I'd always advise veterans to work with, those national providers, but also if there's someone in your community that has boots on the ground, sort of combine forces with both of those so that you expand your network as you look for employment. Yes, the next thing I want to talk about is social enrichment. When Jeanette was talking about peers, how do you find peers in your community that you can help balance benefits and navigation things off of? Some of these organizations are ones that I've always found successful and a good way for veterans to network with other veterans. Social enrichment is key to that. So Team RWB, they help veterans lead healthier lives through fitness events. It's a way for veterans, service members, military families, and supporters to network through sports and fitness. I am a big proponent of Team RWB. I've been involved with them for years. I've met some of my best friends after my service through that organization. I network best through that type of engagement. I've played softball and flag football and I want to say I ran parts of marathons, but I mostly walk them. But there's a great way to really engage with other veterans in the space through Team RWB. Another one I want to talk about is the Mission Continues. Their vision is they're all veterans with a desire to continue their service, to be part of a movement to transform communities. It's a great way to connect with veterans and continue to serve your communities. I've been to numerous events with the Mission Continues. It's a great way. I think some of the events we did, we've turned abandoned lots into community playgrounds, to community gardens for different places. It's a great way to connect and meet with other veterans there as well, and sort of get connected to your community. Another one would be Team Rubicon. It's a veteran-led humanitarian organization that serves communities during and after disasters. It'll be a great way to meet other veterans in that space as well. And then Wounded Warrior Project has a great alumni connection program that allows for educational, recreational, and family-oriented events, you know, in your community to help build camaraderie. It's another way to sort of connect with veterans as well. All right, and here's one that's near and dear to my heart, financial assistance. Of the 15,000 veterans that I served at my time at PA Serves and the 35,000 referrals that we made, a very vast majority of them started with a need related to emergency financial assistance. Bring this up because I want to try to reduce the stigma of asking for help. There is help out there. Some of the ones here are just national-based organizations that you might be able to help. There are numerous ones that are local too as well. I know that there are some that are local throughout the space because I'm a part of one myself. We've raised and given away $1 million to post 9/11 veterans in our community. They're out there. Ask for help. And like I said, don't let something small turn into a really critical issue with you as it relates to emergency financial assistance. We can get out ahead of things. There are programs that are out there that they don't necessarily have income guidelines. There are some things out there that it's just, you know, there are people that are willing to help and they're looking for veterans, looking for assistance. The first one on there is supportive services for veterans and families. That is a VA grant that should be in almost every community throughout the United States. I think a vast majority of every county is covered by an SSVF provider, and that's a VA grant, and that is for homeless prevention and rapid rehousing. So if you ever find yourself in a housing need, that would be the first program I would reach out to, because like I said, it should be pretty much everywhere in the United States at this point, although there are a few areas that aren't covered. And the next is how to connect to resources. The first thing is, like I said, we're sending out PowerPoints with connection to every single one of those organizations. If you want to reach out, you can, but you can also connect through the IVMF. Here on the bottom left of that corner is a link to to this contact form on the right. If you are looking for resources or knowledge related to benefits, you click on the community services little bubble there and then put in a message, you know, sort of explaining what your needs or goals are. And we'll have someone reach out to you to help you connect to veteran services. And I will also work on ensuring that you guys all have, if there's a coordinated care network in your area, I will ensure that you guys are knowledgeable of it. If I were, like I said, if I were going to start looking into resources, I would start with a coordinated care network. And then with that, any questions, or if you need to reach out to me, we can be reached there as well.
Thank you, Aaron. Thank you so much. That was really helpful. And again, you'll be receiving a follow-up email with that information. I'm going to hand it over to Cassandra now for question and answers.
Thanks, Linda. And thanks so much, Jeanette and Aaron, for all of those great insights. There's so many resources to tap into. And again, you know, we'll share these slides, the resources, you can look into them. And I also want to know, if you are part of the IVMF Alumni Network, definitely reach out to us because we can further help with the navigation of those resources. But overall, I do want to tap into some of these submitted questions, but if you have any questions, feel free to pop them in the chat. Okay, so one of the questions is using online boards like LinkedIn and Indeed effective when applying for positions? I think I can kind of tap into that. So either or can be very effective, but I do want to know, as an alum or a current ODOL participant, we also have employment or career preparation employment support services that you can tap into. And what it is a resource with job listings or employer partners and additional opportunities you can tap into. So just know that's also a resource. We'll also be sharing it later this afternoon. But yeah, LinkedIn is a great resource when applying for these positions. And then sometimes LinkedIn will kind of populate positions within your expertise or positions that you're interested in. So yeah, I think both of them are good. But want to pass it over to Jeanette or Aaron if you have any insights. All
Yes.
right.
Oh, sorry. I would say is, I would do that, but also in conjunction, LinkedIn and Indeed are all great, but I would do it in conjunction with, an employment specialist that focuses in the veteran space, because they can help you maximize your return on investment in the time you spend on those websites, ensuring that you present yourself in the best possible way. Like I said, I would do it, but I would do it also in coordination with somebody who has experience in helping veterans find employment, so they can tailor and cater your profile in the best possible light.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you, Aaron. And yeah, as Aaron mentioned, there's organizations like Hire Hero USA. There's also American Corporate Partners that provide that tailored experience with that career transition. And they're all great resources to tap into. So, oh, I see something in the chat from Jeff. Yeah, Jeff, go ahead, and if you want to enter it into the chat or if you want to come off mute, no worries.
Yeah, I met a mentor when I retired back in the early 2000s through the American Corporate Partners that I'm still friends with today. So that's definitely a good route if they still have that program where they'll connect you with somebody. But I would say, at being someone who served 22 years in the Marine Corps, got out, I've been working for the Army for 17 years. Part of that up front was as a contractor. It's important for folks, not only to make sure your medical records are up to speed well before you get out, but it's also to have career goals. I know a lot of us deployed a lot, and when you retire, you may not want to travel a lot. But are you looking, for what kind of pursuit are you looking for? And really line that up. And if there's things that you could plan in advance, let's say, just making this up, if you're going to possibly work in military acquisitions, are there free online classes that you can take to really make yourself more marketable? But what I mean by having goals are, do you want to work primarily close to home if you have younger kids, or not? Are you looking? Because really, in the end, you're not looking for a job. I've seen tons of people get out and take the highest paying job, and they're miserable, and they would quit within a year. But you're looking for always look for a career. And one thing that I did that was super helpful was do interviews for job outside of your lane, just to practice. Because these companies, if you're looking at a company and it may not be going right directly into the civilian workforce for the government, they're professionals at hiring people, and they have a budget, and they're going to try to get you to commit, if they can get you the lowest price and bring you on. So know what you want, and your job at the interview is really to find out more about that position, if it's ideal for you. Because if that's something that's ideal for you, you're going to do a good job. And if you're going to do a good job and there's upward mobility in that industry or in that company, you're going to move up. But those are things that you need to do. And one word of advice is read about the company. Were they a smaller company that were bought out by a bigger company? What is their main industry? So some of these things that you can learn that most people don't when they go to an interview, and you can spout off some facts about the history of the company and what excites you about that position or that company. It goes a long way, because in the end, they're hiring you for you and your skills. They're not just hiring you to do something, but they're hiring you to be a part of their company. Over.
Oh, thanks so much, Jeff. Great insights, and no, we appreciate them. Like you mentioned, dip into those different realms within your career, practice those interviews, even if it's not right within like the lane you're trying to reach, just get that experience. That'll help out for sure. So this next question here is for Jeanette. So, Jeanette, what publications or studies would you recommend for service members looking to stay informed about transition-related topics? Could be anything within like our IVMF network or anything you think is good to share.
Sure. So there are actually, so every year we have a collaboration with Blue Star Families, and I think that is a good place to start. That's a project that I'm very familiar with, then that me and my team work on, and and every year we have a finding that's very focused a lot. We focus a lot of our energy on transition. So this year, so that QR code will take you to the landing page, which focuses about resource use and some of the community factors that affect veteran well-being in the long term. So that has like a transition element. We also have another one last year, and I think that this one might be of interest to many, is we actually broke down our kind of the respondents in our survey, and we look at it by retired and non-retired veterans. So I think a lot of folks are very curious about the dynamics, and we talk about I did show that one. There's this one graphic that I did show today, which basically shows even if you're not retired, preparation is key to having a smooth transition. So those two are, I think, our most recent finding that's related to transition. But we have a lot of them, and one of the like pet projects that I have. When I'm like not working specifically on certain research, is that I want to put them together so that we have a lot of transition related publication, like kind of in one place. So we have a lot of that. And other places where I would look at, and that actually has kind of implications for us, is that there is the TVMI, and I think there is I don't know if this is publicly available, but if you look at some of our recent like I Love Data kind of campaign that's been happening, it broadcasts the usage and the the value of participating in some of our programs, specifically the O2O, and how that is like how does that affect employment outcomes and stuff like that. So we have the TVMI study is also a great place to sort of understand how the transition process is looking like for a lot of veterans. And then also RAND, the RAND Corporation, they also have a lot of related information with that. So more to follow, but I love that you asked this question, and then we would, we are happy to, I can send Cassandra some, resources in addition to the ones that I just talked about, and we are always happy to disseminate those for everyone.
Thank you, Jeanette. A lot of great nuggets that you highlighted within there. Also pointing to IVMF Hearts Data Month, really just highlighting not only our publications, but all the other initiatives that we tap into. So thank you for sharing that. I do want to pass it over to Erin. So Erin, for you, are there any specific organizations or groups that service members should be aware of, or that you'd like to highlight for community support? Do you happen to have some favorites?
But I'll say, preface this is that every community is different, and even national organizations can be difficult to connect to depending on the rurality of where you live and things like that. But if you're looking for, and it depends on sort of what you're looking for. Like I said, if I were starting out to navigate resources for myself, I would look for a coordinated care network in your community. They are essentially the mentors and the educators of the landscape of what's going on in your community. They can connect you directly to people and resources and different ways to network with veterans. They're the ones that have been there doing the work. They don't have a multidimensional mission where they focus on housing or this. They're an expert in resources. And in most communities, especially the ones that we've worked with in terms of the community practice, most of them will take that service navigation journey with you. They're not going to give you numbers and say, best of luck here to call somebody. They're doing a lot of this work in the background and coming back with, hey, these resources are right for you, making that connection through technology and having someone on the other end reach out to you as soon as possible. Those are the organizations that I find do a lot of this work the best. If we're talking about just resources themselves, like I said, I'm partial to all the social enrichment organizations. They are a good way for you to network and learn about the space as well. If you don't have an option to have a care coordinated network in your system, that peer-to-peer network relationship is always really important, and that's that informal sharing of resources is key to success and in networking and whatnot.
Perfect. Thank you. Thanks so much, Aaron. But most of all, I do want to just thank you and Jeanette for your time and sharing all of these great resources, community-based, research-based. So one of the things, I think I saw something else in the chat. So Caroline, mentorship resources, we will be sharing that later this afternoon. And then for O2O, if you are interested in enrolling in the program, we will provide a link, or actually I can just provide it since I'm on the page. So with this, you can just learn more about the eligibility requirements, the program tracks. Just to give you an overview of the O2O program, there's various program tracks you can get into, really just based on your expertise, experience within those set fields. Our most popular training, I want to say, is the project management training given through PMI. We have other tracks that are based on like HR focused, and then we also have cybersecurity tracks as well. So really just want to paste this here in the chat. We'll also be sharing all of the corresponding links later this afternoon. I do want to touch on our cybersecurity tracks as well. So if you are interested, definitely, shoot us an email. Linda and I, we work on the alumni services team, but we're able to point you in whatever direction. If you're interested in enrolling, if you're an alumni, we can help answer some of your questions, and we can connect you to Aaron or Jeanette if you have any research focused or community based questions. So yeah, most of all, I do want to thank you all for your time, and we'll be sharing more of this info. But also, Aaron and Jeanette, any final thoughts before we leave our audience?
Yeah, I'll go. Essentially, I will say is, don't try to take on this navigation of services alone. Whether it's through peers or through the VA or a coordinated care network, don't do it alone. Be willing to ask for help. Be willing to talk to someone about your needs and your goals. And, you never know what you're going to learn from someone who's been through the experience. So like I said, my key takeaway is, do not try to do this transition and service navigation piece alone. Look for peers or community partners or community-based organizations that will help you navigate those services, because they're out there.
I think my insight from this is that, transition is sometimes it's not just about the service members. Oftentimes it has to do with the families and their needs. And so we have a lot of resource that's also available to them here at IVMF. We have a lot of research and insight that we can offer you to help you navigate this process. It is a difficult process, but I think with preparation, reaching out to peers, utilizing what's available to you, and, being informed is a key part of the process to be successful.
Awesome. Well, thank you both again so much for your time and these great nuggets of information. And also just thank you so much to our audience who's watching this. We will follow up with all of the shared links within the chat. A recording of this webinar, but overall, if you have any questions, don't be afraid to reach out to us. We are aware of all the resources within not just our network, but also our partner organizations. So really don't be afraid to reach out. We're here for you guys. So thank you all so much again, and have a great rest of your day. Bye-bye.